Today we're going to discuss the possibility of Jamie Lee Curtis returning to the Halloween franchise. See you on the other side.
Jamie Lee Curtis comments about a possible return has me conflicted as a fan. This came out on November 5th of last year, but I saw this pop up in a couple other videos, and we're a horror channel. I love the Halloween franchise. I wanted to talk about it. So this is a confusing and interesting dichotomy when you consider that Laurie Strode's role and her character arc was all but completed in Halloween Ends. And I understand Halloween Ends is a highly unpopular movie. You can watch my review of it. I'll link it in the description. The reviews of the entire franchise are here on the channel. The only video we haven't done on this franchise is on Halloween Resurrection, which I promised in October, then November. It is now almost March. I am going to make that a priority coming next month, which it'll be available for channel members and patrons first. Patrons will get a different cut of the video with more footage involved in it because I'm putting it on Patreon. It's paywalled. I can do whatever I want. So channel members, you're going to get, it'll be a great video. Trust me, guys. I put a lot of time and effort into producing my reviews of these movies. If you've seen any of my movie reviews, when I go in depth, you know that I spend at least 2 to 3, 4, sometimes 5 days fully producing, writing, and re-editing scripts and making sure everything's right, because we have paying customers here on the channel, and if they're getting early access and they're paying for it, I want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. That being said, we do have channel memberships available, $2.99, $4.99 to be a Kazooian or a Harvey Wakuian producer. Also, patreon.com/wrestling with horror for $20. That is $2 a month to become a brain buster. There is a myriad of commentaries, wrestling content all over on patreon.com/wrestling with horror for $20. Now, on with the video. Would Laurie Strode cheapen the Blumhouse trilogy? Yes, I think it would cheapen the ending that her character received, but this is the problem. That trilogy was not good outside of the first entry. Had some great effects, some wonderful kills, but overall, the movies were not good. 2018 is really the only acceptable entry into that franchise. Laurie was sidelined in kills in the hospital almost the entire time, much the way she was in Halloween 2, which this new trilogy erases completely from continuity. And I don't like that. I don't like movies being retconned out of existence. I think it is a slight to the filmmakers and everybody involved in those. And for the sake of what? Telling a subpar, mediocre story written by people who really don't understand the original lore? I don't care. I don't believe David Gordon Green, if not David Gordon Green, Danny McBride and the other jackass that wrote those, they didn't understand what they were working with, or else you never would have included a character like Corey Cunningham in the Go Home movie to a trilogy. You tried to shoehorn this automatic romance in with Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter, which I can't even remember the character's name. Andy Matichak is the actress's name, but I can't remember the character. It's that irrelevant of a trilogy to me. I don't think it was done well. I don't think it was good. It was a lot of nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia. And the only time they got it right was when they did the scenes jumping back to like 1978. I mean, those look fantastic. If they would have done, if you wanted to continue the franchise, you should have gone all the way back to there and just recasted every single role. Just recast every single role and go back and shoot that movie in the 1978 aesthetic. And I think it would have been much better, and I think the fans would have received it much more happily than they did with this new trilogy and the Corey Cunningham story in the third movie. That being said, where does this leave Laurie Strode? Where does she fit into all this? I know what you're thinking. This is what the video is about, Etep. Well, after I take a sip of water, we'll get to that. We'll get to this article, and we'll talk about it more, of course. The horror genre has been thriving for years now to the delight of fans like me. Some of the best horror movies return to theaters with new sequels, including John Carpenter's Halloween franchise, Blumhouse's trilogy, some of which is streaming with a Peacock subscription, completed with Halloween Ends, which was billed as Jamie Lee Curtis's final appearance as Laurie Strode. And as such, the Oscar-winning actress comments about a possible Halloween return has me conflicted as a fan. Like I said, we'll go through this and then I'll give you my thoughts more in depth as we roll through the article. The Halloween franchise's timelines are confusing, but the Blumhouse trilogy served as a direct sequel to 1978's John Carpenter original. The Halloween Ends finale saw Michael killed for good, at least in that timeline. While it seems like Jamie Lee Curtis was done as her signature character, recent comments to Entertainment Weekly offer some doubt. As she said, "I have hung up my bell-bottoms and pale blue button-down shirt, and I have relinquished Laurie to the ages with a warm aloha and a thanks for all the years and memories. And yet, if I've learned anything in my 65 years on the planet, it's never say never." Boy, she sounds like a professional wrestler. I can relate to that. I was out of the business for 7 years and recently came back, wrestled my first match, and now I am back full-time as a wrestler. From that perspective, I can see Jamie Lee Curtis wanting to come back and reprise that role. It was as they said, a career-defining role. Oscar-winning actress, and her most well-known role is as Laurie Strode, which I love the character. She's, one of the best final girls ever. Jamie Lee Curtis made that role her own. You can say what you want about her outside of the franchise, whatever. I just look at it like this, separating the art from the artist. I really enjoyed her as Laurie. I do. The new franchise didn't do the character justice in the way that I feel she should have been done justice. That falls on the writing and direction of this, the Blumhouse trilogy, which when you have to pre-qualify anything by saying it's a Blumhouse movie, it's hit or miss. It is hit or miss. And let's go back to the article. Honestly, she's not wrong. Franchises are a tricky thing, especially within the horror genre. And even if Halloween Ends actually killed the shape, moviegoers expected more installments to arrive in theaters eventually. But it would definitely be a surprise to see Curtis back kicking ass as Laurie Strode for another upcoming horror movie. You have to be cognizant of this. She's 65 years old now when this article was written, so she'll be 66 this year. You figure at least a year and a half to get the movie done, through production, shoots, reshoots, marketing, editing, all that, the finalizing, all that fun stuff. So what is her physical capabilities? What are they going to be? How do you want to write this? You need a writer, director, you need a good script here. And I don't see that as something plausible to bring her back. Now, this is kind of far out there, but what if, and hear me out, what if we go back to part 4 and continue from there? You could even say 5 or even 6, because they still follow the original continuity from 1 through 6. I know, trust me. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, is a god-awful movie, and they recast Danielle Harris's character, which brings me to my next point, which is, why don't we bring back Danielle Harris as, what was her name? Jamie. Why don't we bring Jamie back? I don't see a problem with that. I don't see why not. I would absolutely love to see Danielle Harris come back, because we've just been watching the Hatchet movies, and I feel her character didn't receive the proper justice in Halloween 4 and 5. Well, 5 more so than 4. 4, she was a great character. 5 really sidelined her. And Danielle, in between 5 and 6, got emancipated and spent her own money to do so she could, participate in part 6, and they recast her. Which, good for Danielle, because with the incest angle that they used with Michael and Jamie and that was definitely a Weinstein decision to go with that storyline. I was going to say, is it Weinstein or Vince McMahon? Anyway, I think Danielle Harris would be more feasible. She's about 46, 2 years older than me. She still looks fantastic. Her acting is tremendous as far as the horror genre goes. She is just loved in the horror community, and I'm not just saying for her aesthetics, but she's a loved figure in the horror community, much revered as a scream queen, and I would love to see her come back instead of Jamie Lee Curtis. I think it would work better. if you went back to part 4. I know late last year, around Halloween, I believe I did a video on a sequel to part 4 that I think it was Dwight H. Little, who was the director of Halloween 4, which is one of my favorites, if not my favorite in the entire franchise, wanted to do a sequel to part 4. You know, that was pitched, and I would love to see that with Danielle Harris. I would love to see her come back. If you're trying to reinvigorate your franchise, right? Just, you want to retcon things, retcon the Blumhouse trilogy right out of existence. Go ahead and do that. Bring Danielle Harris back as Jamie, because the character's still alive. You could very well do that. Recast her, and I guarantee you, as Jamie Lloyd, you know, no disrespect to the actress that played her in part 6. She was serviceable, but nobody is going to play that role like Danielle Harris. I'm sorry. And the way she was treated in the Rob Zombie Halloween movies as Annie Brackett was nothing short of criminal. Her role in Hatchet was great. And then they recast her in the 4th movie. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis is one thing. You know, obviously Laurie Strode, iconic character. And this is a hot take, and I've said this before. I almost feel as if Rachel Carruthers, played by Ellie Cornell, is superior to Laurie Strode. And hear me out, because I know what you're thinking. A lot of you are getting ready to click off the video right now and be like, Jesus, this guy's insane. Rachel was awesome. I absolutely loved Ellie Cornell in part 4. And again, they did her dirty in part 5 and killed her off, replaced her with Tina, who is one of the most insufferable, annoying characters in the entire franchise, outside of maybe Corey Cunningham, the shock jock DJ Barry from part 6, Tyra Banks in Resurrection. I mean, there's a litany of characters that you could absolutely, you're just like, oh my God, they're such tropes as characters, you know, and that's, all horror has those characters. All slashers have those kind of characters. Doesn't mean we have to like them. You know, it's the kind of the ones you root for to see, you know, either The Shape or Jason Voorhees or, you know, whoever the baddie is in the movie, get to dispatch them. Want to say I'd be happy seeing Jamie Lee Curtis come back. Because it's such a crapshoot if you know, bring her back and the script matches everything and it's done well and, you know, people vibe to it. Now, I'm not saying that nobody would be excited to see Jamie Lee Curtis come back, because on pure nostalgia alone, given her, you know, the time she spent since 1978 being involved in this franchise, yeah, it would be a coup to get her back. And if she's willing to do it, then I really don't think anybody's going to tell her no. Let me just make the case for Danielle Harris one more time, simply because I feel that would be a much more feasible way to continue this series and bring the Shape back. And that's to say nothing of the television series, which is, or streaming series. I say television, it's a streaming series. We talked about as Miramax got the TV rights. And we've heard literally, it's been radio silence on that series for almost as long as Crystal Lake, which is supposed to be out this year on Peacock, but we're in February and I don't even believe they've begun shooting yet, which is taking place in Australia. So, that being said, where do we stand here? You know, we stand on the rumors. That's where we're kind of just speaking. We're hypothesizing, pontificating, as it were. I can sit here all day and hypothesize about different scenarios in which you could drop Laurie into, ways to bring back Michael. But I believe after Halloween Ends, the best way to do that is if you're going to play the retcon game, which I don't like, but if it retcons the Blumhouse trilogy completely out of the timeline, then okay, we can roll with that. You know, like I said, absolutely fine with that. The author goes on to say, while Halloween Ends was my least favorite installment in David Gordon Green's trilogy of movies, I did love the grisly way that Michael Myers was killed once and for all in that universe. There was no way he was coming back from being ripped apart by an industrial shredder, meaning that Haddonfield was finally free from the boogeyman. So seeing Jamie Lee Curtis come back on the big screen fighting Michael would definitely cheapen that finale, even though I love me some Laurie Strode. And I'm not worried about cheapening a finale of a movie that was utter dog shit. Like, that's the problem, is it's like, oh, we can't do that to this movie. Why? The movie was bad. Why not? Halloween Kills wasn't good. Halloween Ends was absolute trash. You know, as I stated earlier, Halloween 2018 was the only acceptable one in the entire franchise, which, like I said, I reviewed all 3 of those in the stylings of Cleveland Brown. So, enjoy, if you will. They're on the Horror Reviews playlist. Author says, to be clear, I'm a hardcore horror fan who is happy to enjoy more Halloween content sometime in the future. That includes the developing Halloween TV series, as well as whatever movies inevitably end up being produced. But I'm not sure if we need to see Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie, especially following her stellar performance in the last 3 films. Stellar performance is a stretch of epic proportions. All that being said, I would absolutely show up to the theaters to see Jamie Lee Curtis in another Halloween flick. That's where the complicated feelings come from. But seeing Laurie and Michael's battle come to such an end in an epic way during Halloween Ends offered a perfect conclusion that I'm worried another appearance by Curtis wouldn't be satisfying. I want more Halloween content, but I don't know in which capacity I want that or how I want it presented, who I want the lead to be. Like I said, I'm just going to lean on Danielle Harris in this. I want to see Jamie Lloyd come back. I would love to see them retcon and bring Ellie Cornell back, who still looks really good. It would be fantastic to see her back in the fold again in a Halloween movie, you know? But, yeah, I don't know. I got to know what you guys think on this. You know? I want to know what you guys think. Are you happy to hear Jamie Lee Curtis basically have the door open to a potential return to the franchise? Or would you rather see... would you rather see Danielle Harris come back as Jamie Lloyd and continue as the Boogeyman's niece, Jamie? That's where my money, I would push my chips toward that side of the table. It just depends on who's in charge, you know? Who's going to produce the movie? Who's going to direct the movie? Personally, as I said, man, bring Dwight H. Little in, use the same kind of synth score and make it frightening. Give Jamie a fitting conclusion as opposed to what they did in Curse of Michael Myers. You've got access to all this stuff. As far as movie rights goes, I want to see that. I do. That's what I want to see. It's not quite the level of anticipation as I have for Crystal Lake. Not at all. Not even close, because when it comes down to the two of them, I'm more of a Friday the 13th guy. But I do love Michael Myers in this franchise. I do. It is a transcendent franchise in horror. It's one that you can always go back to and find something to enjoy. So, Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously, we as fans would not be opposed to you returning in your titular role of Laurie Strode, even given the fact that you had a somewhat satisfying conclusion. The end of Laurie's story was probably the best part of Halloween Ends. You take the stupid romance out, the fact that Corey Cunningham physically bested Michael Myers. There's a lot of things that you have to take out of the equation to make that movie work, and that's why I'm a proponent of retconning that entire trilogy right out of existence. Go right back to part 5 or 6, continue from there. At this point, I'm not even turning down saying that I would like to see the Cult of Thorn back, because I would. What are you going to do with the Cult of Thorn that's going to damage the continuity? There's really nothing you can do. It's completely open right now. It is open, But we'll see what happens. I want to know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Do you want to see Laurie Strode come back? Do you want to see Jamie Lee Curtis reprise that role? Would you be opposed to Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd coming in? Laurie's long-lost daughter. Danielle Harris, his character Jamie Lloyd, is Laurie's daughter. Let's see them together on screen. Why not? Why not? What have you got to lose? After Halloween Ends, you literally have nothing to lose. So if today's the day I've earned it, you like the video, subscribe. Turn that red button gray. It's free. It always will be. There's channel memberships available. We have upcoming this Monday. We're starting a 3-hour member stream, watching WWE Raw every Monday, going live afterwards for Nitro at 10:45 Eastern to review the show. Tuesday Night Terror Vision, we review a different horror movie every week with my co-host, Trina from Real Horror. That's it, gang. I am Etep from Wrestling with Horror. If I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow. I'll catch you on the next one. And remember, it's always better to burn out than fade away.